Hey y'all, it's been a while. Sorry for speaking so low. I'm actually hiding from the enemy because this is the counter to Trizooka. Just position correctly and... Fuck! What's up everyone, Gus here, your favorite Squid Research Lab sociologist with a brand new video on a new cultural phenomenon happening in the Splatoon community, or in this case, Twitter. If you're wondering what I said at the end of that other clip, don't worry about it, let's just talk about Trizooka, okay? A few days ago, Zorconic made this tweet expressing their thoughts on Trizooka. It basically reads like this: have better awareness, quote unquote, when there was physically no way to dodge or react to this. In this case, the Trizooka. This tweet eventually reached almost 500,000 views, 132 quote retweets, and several comments from when I last saw it. A lot of people commented on this post, including notable Splatoon YouTubers such as Chara and Squid School, making their own respective YouTube videos on the matter. And for the most part, the comments in the videos range from agreeing with him that the special makes it extremely difficult to react to in this meta, whereas others took an approach to say he could have positioned better, or that he is simply complaining and at the end of the day, this is simply just a skill issue. Before I give my opinion on the matter, let's understand how we got here in the first place. Because if you were playing Splatoon 3 6 months ago, and then you went to go live behind a rock, you would probably be wondering, where are all the crab tanks? Where did they go? Wasn't Trizooka a mid special? Why is it now considered the best? Well, let's explore it. There is no question that Trizooka is arguably the best special in the game currently. You can look at any top level tournament and see multiple Trizookas being used by both teams. So if you have your keyboard ready and you're dying to say, Gus, Trizooka is actually a B tier special, I hate to break it to you, sweetheart, the results prove otherwise. For example, most recently, we saw two of Europeans' best teams, Alliance Rogue and Kaiser, go head to head in the semifinals of the Splatoon 3 European Championship, in a close set where there were 4 Zooka weapons in the last game to determine the winner, who would go on to compete in the World Championship. Top level shows that Trizooka is the best and it has the results to back it up. Trizooka rose to prominence because of several factors, but the one that tipped the scale for this special from going from a mid tier to a high tier special was the buff that happened in 4.1, where it got an increase in damage dealt by explosions from 40 damage to 60 damage. Now this is not the only factor, of course. There was the buff that it got from shredding crab tank armor a few patches ago, the eventual fall of crab tank meta, and the buffs to Splattershot. But the 4.1 buff hit the nail for most players. The buff made Zooka more consistent, which was the main critique by players that they had with the special to begin with. Zooka was already a powerful special on paper, has incredible range and does 220 damage with a direct hit, meaning that sometimes you can even kill people behind their spawn armor. It does have its drawbacks with being slow and being vulnerable while firing, but what made the special somewhat bad back then was the fact that it did 40 indirect damage, meaning you would need to hit 3 of your shots indirectly to kill the opponent. So with this buff from 4.1, it made the special more consistent in fulfilling its job, killing the enemy. Given this buff, more Zookas were used and more concerns with the special began to be discussed. The 3 primary critiques with the special that I've seen is number 1, the indirect damage of 60, number 2, the special startup, and number 3, its spammability, particularly with the Splattershot. To get a better idea of what people were thinking, I decided to run a poll to capture people's opinion on this special. So let's check it out. A few days ago, I asked you, what is your main issue with Trizooka? I gave you 4 options, which included indirect damage, its startup, its spammability, or other, and you had the option to comment down below to share what you thought was problematic about this special. Over 1,000 people voted in this poll, and it received the following results. 18% believe the indirect damage is the most problematic, 59% say it's the startup of the special, 20% believe it's the spammability that's the issue, and lastly 4% think there are other reasons why it's problematic. Let's analyze each 3 problems in order of percentage, and then we will get to the other category. Starting off with the indirect damage, given the buff, the indirect damage made it so Zooka is basically a huge slosher that shoots across the map, and it's guaranteed to do 60 damage to the opponent if it's within the range. You could hit the enemy once, they could try to swim away and heal in their own ink, but with another indirect shot, they're pretty much dead. This is definitely annoying because you could be hiding behind a wall, but as long as the splash damage hits you twice, it's a guaranteed kill from the Trizooka. It's the reason why players such as Jason are calling for this special's indirect damage to be reduced to 50 damage, a 10-point difference. The reason being that he said is that you can heal through the 2 shots, so if the opponent wants to kill you, they need the 3rd shot. Other players allude to the spam aspect of the special being problematic. For example, Surskit said V-Shot in particular paints too easy and stacks well in a team comp, meaning you can honestly run 2 splatter shots and you'll be fine. It also does not help that this weapon was buffed with its RNG and it became a 190p special, making me have flashbacks to a certain splatter shot that would throw suction bombs and spam their specials immediately after using it. Finally, it's startup lag, and here's where we get to the fun part about all of this. I think this is the main criticism of the special, as evident by the pull percentage for this option and from the reaction to Zorconic's tweet, because in that clip, I'm gonna be straight up with you, it is very difficult to react to that situation, and others agree. Mossy said, definitely the startup. It doesn't give you enough time to get behind cover, if there is any, and with such range and speed, the startup can't be so fast. The recognizable sound effect is cool, but by the time you're registering it, it's probably too late. There is no startup lag to this special. Startup lag is the few frames before the special becomes usable. Take Reef Slider for instance. There are a few frames before the shark begins to slide and receives the invincibility frames. With Trizooka, once you press the R button, it's ready to go and ready to be fired. Which is pretty strange, because you would think the devs will remember their past. In Splatoon 1, the devs made a clear attempt to nerf this aspect of Trizooka, Trizooka's predecessor. In Splatoon 1, it increased the amount of time required to fire the first shot after activating Trizooka from 0.55 seconds to 0.92 seconds, giving the enemy team a little bit more of an opportunity to react to the special. But that isn't the only thing that they forgot. In Splatoon 1, the devs also made a very clear attempt to reduce the spammability of the special, making it go from 180p to 220p across the board, which is completely different when we see weapons such as the splatter shot have a 190p special. Come on y'all, seriously? So there goes 2 things that are completely different from Inkzooka and Trizooka. But it's also very important to understand, it's not just the aspects of the special, it's the environment that we're currently playing in. It's a completely different meta. I've seen some comments of people telling Zorconic, if only you played Splatoon 1, then you would have a better idea of how to combat the special. Inkzooka and Trizooka are completely different things. We don't have the insta-quick respawn ability that revives you all the time, regardless if you pick someone off on the enemy team like in Splatoon 1, making this aspect of no startup lag even worse. These games are not the same, and to make a complete comparison between the Zookas and the games without acknowledging the importance of quick respawn abilities and the invincibility specials in Splatoon 1 is completely unfair and lacks the context of the critique to Trizooka. It's a reason why Tacticooler is so popular against this special. We get to have Splatoon 1 quick respawn for at least 17 seconds before you're blasted off by the Trizooka. In Splatoon 1, you always had quick respawn. It was the meta. Tacticooler also doesn't directly counter Trizooka. It just mitigates the issues caused by a lottery special with a huge radius that kills you from a distance. Does this sound familiar? If it does, we just had this problem with Inkjet, a special that made it easier to get 2 indirect damage shots and you're dead. Cooler exists in this meta because specials with huge radiuses that have a 2-shot kill has become so popular. It's one of the reasons players such as Stingray voted for Other and said, my issue isn't that it does 60 damage, it's that the 60 hitbox is effing giant. And this is fair criticism, because it was the same criticism on Inkjet. It's not the indirect damage, or the startup, or the spammability, but it's another issue. It's that how big the hitbox is. And you could be somewhat away from the shot from the special, but given the damage radius, 2 shots from the Trizooka and you're dead. It's the reason Inkjet became popular, and it's the reason why it eventually got toned down. Is the same thing gonna happen to Trizooka? Who knows? I do think that there are some aspects of the special that are more problematic than the others. We should not gut the whole special. Instead, you should minimize the aspects of the special that make it feel overtuned while maintaining its core identity. Trizooka is a special designed to cause damage, so I think the 60 indirect damage should be intact, but this special does need radius reduction and startup frame lag. We also need to give the splatter shot a nerf at least from 190p back to 200p. Why Nintendo decided to reduce it in the first place, I have no idea. They did it once with ballpoint, they might do it again with splatter shot. But overall, can you see the big picture? We don't have quick respawn like we did in Splatoon 1. We don't have the invincibility specials like Kraken and Bubbler. Trizooka didn't come with the same nerfs that Inkzooka got for a reason. But you know what's the true problem of this all? I think it's the reaction to Zorconic's tweet. He posted a meme making fun of people who said just be aware of the special. But in this case, how can you be aware of a special when you spawn into the map and the opponent pops at frame 1 giving you milliseconds to react? You can comment saying Zorconic that he should have been more aware, or make a complete video saying it's about positioning, but if that's the conclusion you come to, I think you miss the entire point of his tweet and the problems high level and top level players have with the special. Positioning is not a true counter to Trizooka. In this meta, it's hard to say what directly counters Trizooka. Yes, comment section, I understand we have Big Bubbler and Inkvac to block or suck up the Trizooka, making it a complete direct counter. But unless those specials are on better weapons, there might be more consequences to running these particular weapons with those specials to simply just counter Trizooka. Is it really fair to say that this is a player problem instead of a special problem? Yes, positioning will help you in the long run. You could be proactive and learn those techniques, right? But positioning isn't the counter to Trizooka. It's not. And to simplify Trizooka as just being a problem with positioning ignores the totality of what we learned from the past. Maps, or rather in this case, hallways, abilities, and other specials in the meta play a role in explaining what problems are occurring with broken specials and healthy specials. But that could be a topic for a different day. I'll see you next time.